Paliapidia was a member of the Facebook leadership team that led the company to profitability. Paliapidia has now pursued a number of independent ventures that reflect his interests. With a net worth of more than $1 billion, many people are wondering how Chamath Palihapitiya made his fortune. How did Chamath Palihapitiya make his money? What does Chamath Palihapitiya mean by do the exact opposite of retail? Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to explain how to invest and get rich. Before we get into this video, don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure that the post notifications are turned on so that you never miss a video from us. Without further ado, let's dive in. With rising prices and a new squeeze on production anticipated, Russia's invasion of Ukraine poses a new threat to the unraveling of global semiconductor supply bottlenecks. The founder and CEO of social capital favor hypergrowth enterprises, cash-generating businesses, and a select few assets such as Bitcoin that are unrelated to the first two. Hypergrowth enterprises and businesses, as defined by Paliapidia, are those that increase by 50% or more each year. Sophie, Open Door Technologies, and Clover Health are all which has helped take the public through special purpose acquisition firms, were named by the technology investor. Mining companies, according to Paliapidia, are a strong pick for cash-generating stocks. Paliapidia promotes a non-correlated asset like Bitcoin as the third type of investment to hedge inflation. These are a great counterintuitive hedge against the other two investments, according to him. Bitcoin, according to Paliapidia, has effectively supplanted gold and will continue to do so. Paliapidia previously told CNBC that Bitcoin may one day reach $200,000 in value. The value of digital currency is currently around $43,968.80. At the time of recording, Bitcoin and the crypto market in general are on the rise, and billionaire venture entrepreneur Chamath Palihapitiya believes this trend will continue. According to MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor, the world will increasingly acknowledge Bitcoin's unprecedented level of decentralization, as well as its growing use as a readily transferable and verifiable scarce digital asset. The Sri Lankan-born Canadian and American venture capitalist, also known as the Spock King for his series of special purpose acquisition firms, was chatting on the All In podcast this week with a group of fellow Moneybag investors and friends. Paliapitia's fundamental premise is that the markets, stocks, and crypto have already factored in the majority of the recent bad macro and geopolitical news, and that includes a lot of what could be termed worst-case possibilities as a result of the Ukraine conflict.
I think the thing is we can't even estimate correctly. So, for example, There was something that said there was 100 out of 100. Russia has 170 battalions, apparently. I don't know if that's true or not.
Right.
Of which 100 were sent in. We don't know if that's true or not. Of which Ukraine apparently destroyed 50. Of which we don't know if that's true or not. So we're left to guess. And unfortunately, what that does is that people psychologically then fit, as David has used in the past, your priors. What are your biases? Right? What narrative fallacy do you want to believe? And then you're going to fit. So the pro-Russian factions will say that's entirely not true. The pro-Ukrainian factions will say, actually, it's even greater than that, huge sustained military losses. The truth is somewhere in the middle that will only get accounted for after a ceasefire is in place. So I think we almost need to, again, we can get caught in this fog of war and talk about this stuff in ways which we don't accurately know. Or we can level up and say, the thing that we both know is there was on the record statements by the foreign minister of Russia and the president of Ukraine that a ceasefire and the surface area of that ceasefire is within sight.
However, a chemical or nuclear assault by Russia would be a fly in the ointment. I think that we're in the midst of what I would call a melt-up, said the billionaire investor. So probably in the next month and a half, there really isn't much bad news that hasn't been priced in. The thing I've learned over the past few years is that markets don't actually care what the news is. They can process good news and bad news equally well. What they despise is the uncertainty of what the news could be. Chamath has 1.5 million Twitter followers, a weekly podcast, and a day trading audience of millennials and Zoomers who listen to his every word. He's 44 and appears to be the type of person who, if we were the ones behind it, would enjoy calling BS on current stock market hysteria. Paliapidia claims the classic value investors who believe that some stocks are highly expensive and idiots. According to him, markets are almost certain to rise as long as the Federal Reserve keeps printing money, and private investors who buy popular stocks beat Wall Street. His point of view may be dubious, but it's certainly entertaining. Paliapidia chose the fun side of the bet in late January when sober-minded financiers cautioned the hype surrounding GameStop Corp, the one beleaguered video game store cherished by Reddit users, would end tragically. He invested in it himself and then chastised Robinhood Markets Inc. for momentarily suspending trading, causing the company's stock price to plummet. Paliapidia's stature and charisma make it common for social media influencers of such stature and charm to monetize their following by endorsing a saleable product, such as a detox tea or a line of home goods. Paliapidia has a SPAC, or Special Purpose Acquisition Firm, which was responsible for the Clover investment. When he urged for the crackdown of Robinhood's executives, he urged that his supporters withdraw their funds and invest them in a competitor, Social Finance Inc. or SoFi, which is combining with another of his SPACs. Two huge buckets of uncertainty have eased in the last week or so, according to Paliapidia, and they revolve around optimism for an end to the Ukraine conflict if peace plan talks can continue, as well as the US Federal Reserve providing a better estimate for its inflation-fighting interest rate hikes over the next 2 years. The billionaire also stated that there are definite indicators that most retail investors capitulated and sold off at the beginning of March. Now, what does Chamath Palihapitiya mean by do the exact opposite of retail, and how to invest and get rich? Investing attracts a diverse range of investors for a variety of reasons. The institutional investor and the retail investor are the two main sorts of investors. A corporation or organization with personnel who invest on behalf of others, usually other companies and organizations, is known as an institutional investor. The way an institutional investor allocates funds for investment is determined by the objects of the firm or organizations it represents. Pension funds, mutual funds, hedge funds, and insurance companies are all examples of institutional investors. Retail investors invest their own money, usually on their own behalf. The rate at which each trade, the amount of money, and investments involved in each trade, the costs each pay to invest, their investing knowledge and experience, and their access to critical investment research are the main differences between institutional and retail investors. Retail is not a very good signal of anything. In fact, if you actually look at retail flows, typically you will make money by doing the exact opposite of what retail does. Every single day since the beginning of this year, retail was a net buyer. In all of those days, the market got punched in the face. Finally, at the beginning of March, retail capitulated. And I posted that same day and I said, guys, this is the moment to buy. When someone asks how things are going, you must have the bravery to respond that they're difficult and that you're still working on the same problem. In terms of trading, you may assume that it takes time to become successful while we are learning to trade, and you can't just jump into anything because it might disappear just as quickly. Retrain your mind. You're putting your brain to work. Recognize that the activities you spend hours a day doing and rewiring your brain and physiology in a way that you now have to utilize to find out how to be effective in the commercial world, whether you think it or not, whether you realize it or not, whether you admit it or not. As a result, if you don't change it, you'll see the same results. If they experience these lucky streaks, there's a good possibility they'll also have these unlucky streaks and end themselves washed up. Instant gratification teaches your brain to want instant results again and again, which will impact the way you respond to how you conduct your business or trade. Chamath discussed how the crypto market has benefited from the war. Chamath believes that the likelihood of a US recession is growing. At times like this, when everyone is backed out from buying, keeping holding. Don't freak out and lose your composure. Don't be a sheep. Paliapidia believes that investing for the long term is the key to success stock investing. All veteran investors agree that doing adequate research before investing in a stock is critical. Investors, according to Paliapidia, will have to look at a company's performance before deciding whether or not to invest in it, and if it is healthy and long-lasting. Paliapidia claims that the market constantly overreacts and underreacts based on investor psychology at any particular time, but he claims sanity always wins out in the end. As a result, by defining and following investment rules, investors give themselves the best chance of not losing momentum in times of upheaval, of finding and adhering to their convictions, and of allowing prices to catch up. What do you think about Chamath's strategy? Do let us know in the comment section below because we would love to hear from you all. Also consider subscribing to our channel for more related content just like this one, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on any of our future uploads. That's about it for today. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to smash that like button, and we'll meet again in the very next one.